All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are creating a definitive professional guide to really mastering the forward deployed engineer or FDE role. If you've ever felt that intense pressure of wearing way too many hats on a complex technical deployment, or maybe you've struggled to manage someone who does, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to give you a highly effective framework to identify and, more importantly, balance the three core FDE personas. Let's dive in. We're going to kick things off with a high-stakes professional scenario. I want you to meet Dr. Asha Vargas. She's an FDE embedded at a biotech company that's running early-phase clinical trials. Now, she just did something extremely controversial. She pushed back hard on her chief medical officer. Basically, the CMO demanded an early AI prototype to demo for a massive regulatory meeting by the end of the month. And Asha flat out refused to ship the tool. No way. Why? Well, because even though her code actually worked flawlessly, the actual definition of a good protocol hadn't been agreed upon by the authors yet, so shipping early would essentially freeze a definition that nobody actually owned. Her pushback left leadership completely divided. Just imagine you're her manager sitting at your desk right now. How do you even evaluate an engineer who intentionally halts project momentum? Was she being brilliant or just difficult? So to figure that out, here is our agenda for today. 1, we'll look at the FDE Trinity model. 2, identifying the personas. 3, diagnosing persona imbalance. And finally, 4, balancing across the lifecycle. Okay, section 1, the FDE Trinity model. The absolutely crucial point to understand here is that an FDE is not some split role that you just pass around an org chart. It is a single hybrid role that requires a dynamic balance of 3 distinct personas all living inside one head. We've got the engineer, the strategist, and the implementer. In a professional setting, you're at your absolute best when you deliberately shift gears between these 3. You enter the danger zone the second one of them quietly starts dominating the others. Look at how beautifully this breaks down. Each of these personas holds a totally different primary accountability for your project's success. The engineer, they make sure the system actually works in production. The code is solid. The strategist makes sure the right thing gets built in the correct order for actual business reasons. And the implementer, they ensure the deployment genuinely forces a change in how people work in their day-to-day environment. Moving right along to section 2, identifying the 3 personas. First up, we've got the engineer. Now, this persona absolutely loves getting their hands dirty. Their signature move is writing rigorous tests that catch those sneaky silent failures or aggressively refactoring bottlenecks that the rest of the team has just been ignoring. It is totally their happy place. But their failure mode is super dangerous. They silently fail when they start optimizing for elegant system architecture over the customer's actual business metric. They end up overbuilding way beyond the narrow necessary path. Next in the mix is the strategist. They are the protectors of the project. They do this by asking why 3 times before anyone is even allowed to ask how. They'll push back hard on requests when the underlying problem hasn't been verified, which is exactly what Asha did with her CMO, right? However, their critical failure mode is confusing having a strong opinion with having an actual strategy. They run the risk of spending so much time reframing the problem on whiteboards that literally nothing ever ships. They perform strategy instead of actually executing it. And finally, the implementer. This persona gets right in the trenches, sitting directly with the operators to guarantee actual workflow change. They are planning the day 2 owner before day 1 even begins. But their failure mode is frankly tragic. They often get treated as mere project management overhead and get dropped the second there's cost pressure. Or even worse, they just drop a link to a new tool in a company Slack channel and falsely label that as adoption. Remember this, most enterprise AI projects don't die in the build phase, they die in adoption. All right, section 3, diagnosing persona and balance. Let's put this into practice and audit the calendar of a brand new FDE, Daniel Park. I want you to tell me which persona is carrying his Tuesday. At 8 a.m., he's fixing CI test failures. Okay, by 9:30, he's pair coding to refactor a slow query. But then at 1:30 p.m., he skips the scheduled check-in with the customer's radiology lead because a CI run failed. Yikes. And at 2 p.m., he's deep in the weeds profiling a memory leak. Wow, when you visualize it like this, the extreme imbalance hits you right in the face. Out of all his logged activities, Daniel has 7 engineer activities, 0 strategist moves, and 0 implementer moves. He is operating 100% on one single side of the Trinity. And here is the silent danger of this failure mode. Daniel is probably building perfectly, but he is completely missing the high-leverage actions. For instance, he's answering customer support tickets with incredibly deep technical clarifications, but he's never stopping to ask why they hit the problem in the first place. That is a totally missed strategist move. He rescheduled a vital customer call for a code run, a massively missed implementer move. He even hit a customer escalation during morning stand-up. Treating strategy and implementation as just annoying distractions from coding is absolutely going to cost the business this client.
Which brings us to Section 4, balancing across the lifecycle.
Listen, you aren't supposed to be exactly 33% of each persona all day, every day. It just doesn't work like that. You have to dynamically shift your balance across the project lifecycle. In the discovery phase, lead with a strategist to define the actual problem, because building anything before the workflow is mapped out is just premature. Then lean heavily on the engineer during the prototype phase to aggressively build that narrow path. Once you hit the evaluate phase, the engineer and strategist must co-dominate to make sure you're actually measuring what the business values. And finally, hand the reins completely to the implementer for adoption, ensuring the project doesn't just die as some cool prototype sitting in a Jupyter notebook. There's this fantastic quote from Palantir that really hits the nail on the head as to why you can't just slice these roles up across your org chart. It says, FDSEs focus on enabling many capabilities for a single customer. If you try to run this like a relay race, handing off between a back-end engineer, a product manager, and a delivery consultant, those handoffs will lose the crucial, highly nuanced context that your single customer desperately needs. The Trinity literally has to exist in one head, because the customer's complex problem requires it to be solved in one head. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I've got a challenge for you. I want you to run an audit on yourself right now. Pull up your calendar from last Tuesday. Honestly, which persona is silently dominating your week? And more importantly, what is that imbalance silently costing your team or your customer right this very second? Are you defaulting to writing code when you really should be stepping back and asking why? Find your weakest persona and deliberately schedule its moves onto your calendar tomorrow. Thanks so much for exploring the FDE Trinity with me, and I'll see you in the next explainer.